I'm just talking this through with you, I'm thinking about March 1, 2020. And we both participated in a monumental day for you, where you qualified for the Boston Marathon, 26.2 miles of absolute heartbreak. Like what I did there, heartbreak. Tim qualified. What was your time? Like 3:12 or something? 3:10?
Yeah, 3:12 and change.
Mine was a little bit faster than that at like 5:40. But I could probably do that a little bit faster now. But what's interesting about that day is I decided, or one of the things that I was looking forward to when doing the marathon was to hit that wall. Where would I hit that wall? Hit that wall. And then what could I do to get through it so that I could take that experience of going through something that is absolutely miserable, which, by the way, it happened at like mile 20, right by the Nolan Trail, which is, I think, historically where it hits for a lot of people, which is interesting that it hit there, because me being the anomaly, I don't like it when things hit when others hit in the same way. But I hit it, and getting through that was really interesting. I wouldn't say that I was ever thinking about quitting, but I definitely thought that I would. It was just a weird experience to go through. Do you walk? And then I finished, in 5 hours and 40 minutes, which is an absurd amount of time, by the way, to think about it. But I did it. I did what I said I was going to do, and I think there's a lot of learning experiences from that. So, when you did yours, what were, do you just have physical goals during that? Do you think about it from a life perspective, from a business perspective? Because I love to parallel them together. I love to relate them together and try to learn from both.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. It's all about mental toughness when you're doing the marathon. I mean, and that's why I love the connection between business and marathon, or any endurance type of running, sport, race, whatever you want to call it, just because that just happens to be the last day of training is when you run the race. But it's like, it's the 12, 15, 18 weeks of grinding through your training plan in order to get to that point. And just the whole mental mind game that goes through, waking up every single morning when it's freezing cold. I was looking back at my last year's activity, and I was stunning to think that last year at this time I was week 5 into marathon training. And wow. And as we know, I mean, it's well, this morning the wind chill was 27 degrees. So just to have that toughness from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, to get out there and grind every single day in order to be prepared for the big race. I mean, that's everything. And that is so applicable to business, because every single day you got to grind, and you got to do the things that you don't want to do. And you've got to do things that may not make sense at the time, but eventually when everything comes together, you're going to be successful, because you have the toughness to push through that mile 20.
Huh. That's interesting. Push through the mile 20. That made me think of something, so I had to write that down. I was like, that's interesting.
Because for those people that aren't familiar, when you run a race,
marathon's 26.2 miles. That's
or even a half marathon, you have what's called pace groups. So it's someone that's carrying a sign around that says,
"Not if you're really slow."
You have different pace groups that are there, and for me, I knew that I had to do better than a 3:15 in order to qualify for Boston. And there was a 3:15 pace group. So really the whole time for me was making sure that I never saw that 3:15 pace group go by.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And you also do something from a music standpoint, right?
I do. I made sure that my playlist was 3 hours and 15 minutes long. And I knew that if I heard a song twice, then I just busted. So just mental games for me to play in order to stay ahead. And it's really interesting when you have those turnaround points, and you can see the people behind you so that you can kind of gauge how much of a cushion that you have. I mean, it's a plus, but it's also a minus as well, because if you've got a 2-minute barrier that you can take your foot off the gas for a little while and try to recover.
So do you look back and see if you could see that? Because what is it, a guy with a flag or something moving around?
Yeah, I mean, I did. There's only a couple times during the race that you could do that, and one was super early on. I think at mile 2, that's when we saw one another, and then.
You mean like a legit turnaround where you actually see someone? Right. Yeah.
But it's one of those things. I think that you started asking if there was any times that I was going to walk during that course. And it's one of those things, man. It's like, from a mental standpoint, once you walk the first time, you're done. It's the kiss of death. Like, before, my strategy was always, hey, I'm just going to walk through the
drinks then,
the water. Yeah. Gatorade stations. But man, me personally, I can't do that. I just got to keep on powering right through.
Well, not to mention just the acceleration and deceleration of getting through something like that. Again, like, there's just the compound effect of that. And so it's interesting. So consistent and deliberate would be my words of 2K20. I wanted to hit a very specific, like, from a fitness perspective, I had a goal time of what I wanted to do in a race. That race got canceled, whatever. I created my own. And when I ended up doing that race, I was 20 minutes faster than my goal time. And honestly, I thought my goal time was absolutely absurd to think that I could do something that fast, at least in the physical fitness that I was in when I made it. So that was cool to see that. And then this year, my goal for that is an even faster time that is going to take some really, really insane workouts to get to. Like, it's just like, wow. Like,
but man, I mean, it's so, it's so mental, and it's one of those things. It's even going back to business. I mean, you have a training plan, and then arguably you may have a business plan or some sort of business model canvas, something that just identifies the milestones that you want to hit, and you need to work towards that. And you can't question your training, and you can't question the things that you put out in order to achieve the things that you set out to accomplish.
So with that in mind, my word of the year is going to be compound, from the compounding perspective, right? Which is, things, I don't know what the exact definition is, but it's if you put in something today, it will be worth more later, right? And I feel like compounding, from a word choice, is something that's only used in the financial world, where in the business world, in the fitness world, and in the relationship world, and in the family world, it's the exact same thing. It's like, if you put in a little bit every day, that thing is going to get better and better and better. And so I remember when I wrote Anomaly, I wrote about that for like a paragraph, and that's it. And it's something that I look at and I go, I wish I would have written more about that, because I feel like it's not talked enough about, even just a relationship perspective, right? Like, when you and I met 8 years ago, when did we figure out we met? 2012. So 9 years ago, almost 8.5 years ago. It happened because you reached out, right? Then we met, and that, planted the seed, if you will, right? And then it took a couple more times for us to plant those seeds over and over, and then it just starts accelerating in that hockey stick, the way that people talk about. But it doesn't happen if you don't do that. And so if you really think about 2020 as well, it was the year of people getting ahead, where I think a lot of people probably got on the back burner, took a hall pass, paused. A lot of people you're going to see that maybe you hadn't seen in a while really got ahead, because they didn't allow someone else to dictate their life.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge point, in the sense of, a lot of people have this myth in their head that only the big are going to survive, like the big companies, or the companies that have the most money and resources. But as we saw this year, it's the first people to react. It's the people that can move the fastest are the ones that are going to do well. You don't necessarily need money and resources to be quick to first to move.